this is Sabina at Cross Keys Crafts. Today with another mechanism card. I really enjoy them, especially when they're easy to make. It's called a Diorama card, and I've got a sample here which I made months ago from some scrap cardstock. And I do admit I wrote down the measurements, thought it was scrap paper, cut this bit off, used it, so I'll figure part of that out once I've taken this apart again. And I also need to put a disclaimer on. At the moment I can't remember where I got this tutorial from, but I will find out and I will put it in my description box below. So all this is you've got a frame and you've got these two pull tabs on the side, and you can just open it like this. If I say just like this, mine at the moment gets caught a little bit there, but I think it's because I used some sticky tape, and that I think has got a bit sticky with time. And also when I create it today, I will enforce this front frame, because this one obviously bends and I don't want that to do. So basically you've got like a stage, you can put a picture here in the back. I think also you can make this a little bit wider than I have here by attaching two pieces, because all you need then is to have this piece wider, and I think it would look a little bit nicer as well then. So I think I will do that for the actual card today. For the cardstock, I have delved into my patterned papers, and I found this pad here. This is from B&M. I bought this years ago. It's got lots of beautiful papers in it, but because my theme today is going to be this stamp that I bought in a charity shop sometime last year. It's from Sheena Douglas, a little scribble, and I know who I'm making this card for, so I thought scribble would be perfect. And then I thought I'd just go into these papers here, because it's got this lovely piece here with all the mushrooms, and I thought I'd use this strip here to go in the back. So just have a look in your stash what you've got, and then I will use some white cardstock as well to stamp on and to reinforce the front piece. So for the front piece, the frame, that is actually quite easy. That's just 6 by 4 inches, so I will cut that. And for the window, you need a little bit of space on the side to hide these strips behind and to put the finger pulls in here. I have actually got a little punch for that, but you can cut them by hand. So I have chosen a die that is 3 inches by 3 7/8. This is how it comes. So I've got a smaller edge here, or a smaller frame at the front, top and the bottom, and a little bit wider on the side here. It's really up to you. You can cut this with your trimmer if you want to. I prefer using a die rather than cutting into it, but you could draw it on, you could cut it with scissors. It doesn't even have to be rectangular. You could have it like an oval shape as well, as long as you've got enough space here on the side. So I will cut these pieces off camera quickly, and I will then take this card apart to see where I had scored. Just popping in to show you this. So I have cut a same piece 6 by 4 inches from white cardstock. This is like a 300 GSM, and I have die cut my middle piece here. I just eyeballed it, making sure it's equal on either side. It's not equal on the top and the bottom. And I've also put a pencil mark here that this is the top, because I don't want this accidentally to be the other way around. I should actually do left and right as well, so that although that is easy to see actually from the top and the bottom. So I can now align this here with the pattern paper, and I'm drawing with my pencil here inside, and then I'm also doing equal line a little bit wider in, but I'll make sure that this gap is equal. I'm not bothered about keeping the inner piece there. I don't believe in keeping too many scraps. So, and then when I put this down here, I can, because I'm covering the actual pencil line, I can then see that these here are equally in distance. And I think that's about right. And I always put my tape on the piece I'm disposing of, because sometimes it leaves a mark or it leaves some sticky residue. So when I die cut this now, this should be perfectly aligned. In hindsight, what I could have done is, if I'm not sure about the top and the bottom, or you even have a bigger piece, you could just die cut it and then align it with this and then just trim it round rather than cutting it to size beforehand, but I've done it like this now. I can now stick these together and they do fit perfectly, and I can then punch out the little thumb holes here on either side. The frame has dried enough now, so I can cut the holes now, and I've got this little hole punch here, and I open it up so I can see where I need to place this. So I want like half circle there, and I'm just again eyeballing this, and hopefully I can cut through it, and I can through both layers. So I'm just doing the same on the opposite. What you can do if you want to measure it, mark the middle there, and then you can see where you need to cut. I just trust my eyes there. I'm just making sure I've got even space on either side, and maybe move that over a little bit. Yeah, and if I have a wonky eye, that's okay by me. Yeah, looks okay to me. That one's actually higher. Never mind, I don't care about these things. Not always anyway. Yeah, I should have marked it maybe. Yeah, never mind. So for the actual mechanism, I've taken mine apart and I've figured this out. So you need 2 strips that are 5 inches by 3.5. Yeah, so 5 and 3.5. And when you cut 2 and you've got a directional pattern of mine, for example, it's not really directional, but the gap here at the top is different if I turned this upside down. So I'm trying to keep them in the same direction. And the first one here, I need to score at 3 and 4.5. And I will actually do this on camera, bear with me, whilst I get my scoreboard out. I got so in a habit of doing things off camera that I sometimes forget about these little steps. So 3 and 4.5, which leaves us with a little tap. And the other one, again, I'm checking that it's the right way around. That needs to be scored at 1/2 and at 2. The original piece I had in 1, but I want this middle section to be wider. And I figured out that the middle section should be the width of your frame that you've cut. So mine is about 3 3/4. So I cut this to 3 3/4, and this is again 3.5 in height. And I've marked with a little pencil which side it goes up, so I don't accidentally turn it this way around and then it won't fit. So I will decorate this now before I glue the mechanism together. What I can show you there, what we need to do is the 2-inch line and the 3-inch line on this one, there are valley folds. And then the 4.5 here and the 1/2 here, they are mountain folds. So I will do it properly off camera, fold it and burnish it. So I just realized my scroll stamp is actually quite large, but it doesn't matter. The only thing I think that matters for me is because the frame will hide a little bit at the top, I will move it a little bit lower. I don't want this to be hidden, or the ears or the face, don't want that to be hidden. I don't mind the feet being cut off. So I've placed this in my stamping, what's it called? Stamp platform, sorry, brain fog. And I'm using some stick it removable tape just to hold it in place when I want to stamp it. So being generous, because obviously with it being so big, I'm expecting it to be fairly heavy as well. So I'm picking it up here. There we go. I could use my Tim Holtz platform because that allows for rubber stamps as well. And I don't use a lot of rubber stamps, but I'll leave it here for now. One thing I have forgotten is that I've never used it before, so I will give it a little bit of rub. I don't know if you need to do that with rubber stamps. I'm just looking for my blacking, but I think I will just take a print of it with some scrap paper. So I'm inking it up thoroughly. You can see the lovely details now. And I put a little bit of scrap paper in here as well, because I will stamp over the edge and I don't want to mess up my platform. So I'm just taking some scrap paper here, just taking a quick print of it just to basically prime the stamp. So look at that, it'll look lovely. So I'm inking it up again. I might just put a little bit of tape down there. So I haven't quite made up my mind yet what I'm using for the colouring medium, but I will be doing that off camera anyway. I think I will actually use some of my pencils, colour pencils. I've got a bit more control with them. I could use my Zig markers. They are quite bold, but I think with that pattern paper I would prefer a sort of more subtle look. Yeah, that's lovely. Let me just zoom in a little bit. So I'm pleased with this. Ideally I would have a bigger picture, you know, or more space at the bottom, but that's the size I chose. So I will also grab quickly a sentiment. I know I've got that in the other room, bear with me. The reason why these were in the other room is because the lovely Emma from Emma Lou Loves, she sent me these German sentiments, and yeah, I'm really happy with these. They're really lovely. And I will use actually the birthday one for the frame on the outside, so I'm not stamping that on there. It's a bit too long for the inside, but I will use this one, and these are actually sticky, so I can put that on my acrylic block here. And it says Danke von Herzen, thank you from the heart, but I just want the from the heart. So I'll be using a little bit of tape. Just got this removable Scotch tape, and I will cover the top word here. I will then ink up the stamp. Again, I haven't primed these, but I'm just risking this now. So, and then I can take the tape off. Oops, I just switched my light off there by getting too close to it. And then I can stamp this here. Yeah, lovely. So I think off camera I will just use a few of these leaves here to just create a little bit of a frame, and as I said, I will colour this in off camera, and then I'll show you how we continue with the mechanism. Just want to show you my very basic colouring. So I'm using my Black Widow pencils. I've got the Black Widow box and I've got the Scorpion box, and this one is the Stink Bug, and I've just basically coloured this all in without any shading or anything. And then I thought I just need a little bit of a sort of an orangey, I don't have an orangey brown, but this is egg yolk, and I'm just adding some colour in random spaces just to give it some dimension. Definitely a little bit on the face. I might come in with a little bit of a darker brown, but the stamp has got so much shading already, it doesn't really matter. A little bit on the tummy, I could have left the tummy a little bit lighter, but it doesn't matter. So, yeah, I think I will come in with a little bit of a darker brown. I've got the dark tan here. So, tiny bit of shading on the back. Yeah, that's better. As you can see, very quick colouring. I'm not an expert, but that'll be just fine, I think. And I think just because of the fun of it, I think I will give it a little bit of a rosy cheek. I'll go here. Oops. This is cyanide pink. So I know probably squirrels don't have rosy cheek, but this one does. So, and then I need a little bit of colour for the nose, because that's not, sorry, I should have zoomed in a little bit more. I will colour that in properly because I want this to be black. So I'll be doing the same sort of technique with the leaves. So just put down a little bit of green and add another little green for some dimension. This, by the way, I think there's a fault in the stamp. There is a little dot there, but again, I'm not too bothered. And I've just realised I probably put my hand in it. I've got a bit of a blemish there, but it is what it is. I could put another leaf there. I might just do that. Yeah, it's actually a reminder for me to leave the ink to dry, because the VersaFine takes a while to dry. I should have blasted it maybe a little bit with my heat tool. For the mechanism, we need 2 more strips. They are 4 inches in height, so same height as the frame on the outside, and they are 3/4 wide. And we need to mark on either end 1/4. So I'm taking my pencil. I'm taking my scoreboard because I find it easier to align there then. So I'm just doing that, turning it around. I was even contemplating whether I should score this, but I think it needs to be tight. So because when we glue these down, we're not allowed to go past that 1/4 mark. And as I said before, I think I originally used some tape, and the idea sounds great, but I think with time the tape dissolves and it can get sticky, and then the card here might get stuck to the frame. So I've turned my frame around. It doesn't matter whether it's upside or downside. So, and I'm putting glue. Any construction glue is fine. It doesn't really matter. And I'm just putting it onto this area that I've marked. So I don't want to use too much. I don't want this to ooze out. Let me zoom in again. So I really want to stay within this area. It's a bit tricky, this one. You don't want too much, but you definitely want it enough, and you want to get close to that line as well. So, and I'm putting it on here against this side here. You don't want to get too close to that area. So pressing this down, making sure it's aligned and not peeping out at the top or the bottom. Don't want it to stick out there. Just thinking whether, I think I need to move it over just a little bit. Sorry about that, because we need to allow, when the card opens, to have a little bit of space there. So I'm just moving it over, I'd say 2 millimeters, whatever that is in inches. It's difficult to see here because of using the same white cardstock. I need to move it down a little bit. I'm just pressing it down there. If I should find that I've got more glue here and it's been oozing out and it's taking up more space, I can always trim down these sheets a little bit. So I'm pressing it down, but not too much. And I'm doing the same on the other side. It's been a few months since I built the original, so I forgot about these little things. And my glue is nearing its end, but I bought a new glue. I will show you all about that when I'm starting using it. I hope it's good. I haven't tried it yet. So this is why tape could be easier to use, but as I said, in the long run it's probably not the best. So again, moving a little bit away from the frame, but staying clear of the tabs as well. So that's that. I'm pressing this down, not too much, and I'm leaving this to dry now. I also left the stamped image to dry before I colour the rest in. I think I'm going to do a few chores now. I'm going to cook lunch and then I come back to this later. For you, obviously, it will only be a few seconds. I've coloured in the leaves now. I didn't really improve the little thing here because I did some double stamping as well, but it doesn't really matter. I'm happy with that. I don't mind. The other thing I wanted to show you, I have stamped this sentiment here, and I cut it with my straight scissors here on where we've got the straight printing. But here I did some fussy cutting with my round nail scissors. I find them easier. But whenever I do that with the scissors, I've always, I don't know if it shows, I've always got a bit of cardstock standing up. So what I do is just use my bone folder and I just go along there and flatten this back down. And then it looks a bit neater. I can do this here as well. It's less obvious then that I've cut this by hand. This just goes on the frame. But when I just thought about how to assemble it, I thought I've done something wrong. Because when I told you where to put in the the valley and the mountain folds, I was looking from the back. So these are actually the wrong way round. So apologies for that. I will put a disclaimer in the video. So the shorter ones here where I've got the tab, they need to be valley folds, and the other ones need to be mountain folds. Otherwise, we're not closing the window properly. So, and this needs to go this way around. So, what I need to do now is I need to glue the picture here onto these two flaps, making sure it doesn't overlap it so that I can actually lean this against here. And I will do this again with my magic glue. I will do this off camera because these needs a moment to dry. I don't want the mechanism to be still damp and the glue to be damp, and then I'm ruining the whole thing. It's one of those moments. The glue is still wet, but I want to quickly show you this. These are the wrong measurements. It worked for this one here because I think the inner piece was smaller, but ideally this would cover the picture, and also it's way too wide. So I'm quickly taking these off whilst they're still damp, and I'm just figuring out the proper measurements, and I will insert that either into the video or put a disclaimer in. Okay, I have cut new pieces of cardstock. This is all I could find that I was happy with the colour. So it's a piece of sky that I cut apart. I thought it goes nicely with this. But obviously if you've got matching cardstock or you've got a bigger piece before that would have been a problem. But ideally I would have given you the right measurements to start with. So I worked out what the problem was. The piece I folded upwards, that needs to be half of the width of this piece. Because this is 3 3/4, the sort of second piece here needs to be 1 7/8. So I'm still scoring here at 3. But then before, I think we had like 2 inches, I can't remember, or middle. No, we had less, I think like 1.5. I need to have 1 7/8, so I'm scoring at 4 7/8 here. And I've cut these pieces, I don't think I didn't say that, to 5.5 inches. This tab is a little bit longer than it was before. It's a little bit longer than 1/2 inch, but because it's a bit of a mess in the back, I think that's okay. So with this one, I'm making my life easy. And I'm just swapping it this way around and score in the same place. So at 3 inches and at 4 7/8. Where am I? There. Because obviously that needs to be scored the other way around. So I hope I've done it right this time. So as before, this one is the mountain fold. and this one, no, I'm doing it the wrong way around again, aren't I? No, it's right. And this one is the valley fold, because that gets hidden behind the picture. And then this gets glued behind the image here, and then the front will cover half of this picture. So I just had a little thought before I glue this all together. I'm also testing that this piece here and the other one actually slides underneath the tabs here, because if I have a bit too much glue, I can still cut these down just a little bit. So I'm just lifting that up a little bit. Try not to put it in too much at an angle, but yeah, I definitely need to cut these down just a little bit. And I think the same with this one here, then on the other side maybe. Have a look. It's very tight. So we need the mechanism to work smoothly. Yeah, so I'm cutting this one down as well a little bit. I don't think I need to cut this one down, but I'll just check that. So just a few millimeters. So I've cut off, I don't know, maybe 2 millimeters just to be on the safe side. And now I'm actually checking that this is the top here, and I've got the top here. I'm sliding this in from this side just underneath here, working my way through. So you want movement. You don't want it too loose because you don't want it to wriggle too much, but you want it to go through. And then I'm doing the same on the other side. So I'm folding it in like this. Make sure I've burnished it thoroughly. And then this can be put underneath the tab here. Slip through from this side. See, that one's going a bit more loosely and just does wriggle at the moment, but I think it'll be okay once we've stuck it down. So they should meet in the middle because it's a bit like a gatefold. And then this should be the width of my scribble here, which I could then slide underneath here, but it is a little bit too wide. Why is that? Cut it the same width. It's not a problem. I can cut it down because we want, well, what you could do if you wanted to, you could stick this on here, but my idea, no, don't stick it on. I have to put it underneath here. So what I need to do is cut this down a little bit to, bear with me whilst I get my ruler. So I couldn't see my ruler because it was sitting sideways. So I need to measure this here again. I don't know why this doesn't fit. It is, I don't know, I've done it. Should be 4 3/4, but it's not. Have I turned this upside down? No. Anyway, it's not a problem. So what I need to do is I need to measure this here. I need to make sure that this can sit on the inside. We're only talking about a few millimeters. So if you should be watching this tutorial and you think like, what's she doing? She hasn't got a clue. She hasn't prepared it. Sometimes I craft like that. I change measurements thinking in my head, oh, it's okay, and then I realize no, it doesn't work that way. But when we craft, we always encounter these little things, and I always try to show you how we can remedy this. So I'm just going to trim this a little bit down on either side, and then I'm putting glue on these tabs. I'm popping this in here, and I'm folding these tabs over, and I'm leaving that to dry, and then I'll show you how the mechanism works. So I think the glue has dried sufficiently. It's getting darker here, so I had to put some lights on. I have created a little panel, but this is still drying, just with the oak leaves again, to put on the top here, and then I can put a personal greeting there. I think I will stick this down anyway once I've written the greeting, but I think otherwise the back can look a bit unsightly here. So, but when I turn it over to the front, it's up to you whether you want to put some arrows there. I think it's obvious to the recipient what they need to do, and they can then pull on the sides here. And as I say, it's a bit tricky, it's a bit hard, depending on how far the glue goes down, and then they can open it up like this, and they've got the image there like a stage. I think this is really cute. And the recipient then might decide anyway to keep it displayed like this, but obviously you can close it flat. I think it's a great card, especially if you do it properly to start with and not like me with the detours. If you think like, oh, you're not sure about the glue here, use some glue tape, but my experience was that maybe use some red tape, but I found with the other card that dissolved and then the card stuck to here anyway. So I even contemplated, but I haven't tried it, whether it's worth scoring the cardstock there before I glue it down, just to mark the areas, but I think it's okay like this. So tweak yours a little bit, play around with it a little bit, but once I think you've done it a few times, it's really nice. It does tilt a little bit when you set it up to the back because obviously this is shorter than the actual card, but I think it's a nice idea. And don't forget, you can put family photos in there, that could be really nice, and you can use some slightly more exciting cardstock than I have here, but I was just looking for some matching colours. But yeah, I think it's a nice card. And if you think so too, you might want to give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of what I'm creating, you might want to subscribe to my channel. I'd be very happy about that. And I'll see you soon with another video.